Thank you very much. This is a special session with service chiefs and the police
consulting services, people consultant.
My brother, that the internet has reached a pivotal point where some level of regulation is required to ensure stability, integrity, and survivability of the platform. However, there are fine lines between suitable legislation, regulation, censorship, abuse, and abuse of digital rights. That said, the fundamentals behind the failures and challenges of technology are often human failings, and indeed human frailties. Greed, lies, incompetence, ego. However, we must now add new political aspects, such as state-funded cyber actors, extremism, and terrorist-motivated hackers. In addition, technology faces well-known challenges such as infrastructure deficit, uncontrollable costs, and resistance to change. And we must therefore understand the underlying social, cultural, and educational issues and circumstances so that we can appreciate our weaknesses and seek ways and endeavor to fix these weaknesses. These are issues our society, especially its national and corporate leadership, must deal with to ensure short and long-term national corporate competitive survivability, and also to secure the well-being of our citizens and their livelihoods. Violations of privacy and privacy rights have been with us throughout history and are severally addressed in both the Bible and the Quran. You may find in the Sons of Noah, Genesis 9, verse 20 to 27, it talks about the invasion of privacy. And that invasion can get you cursed. Not only you, but get your whole family cursed and generations yet to come. Likewise, in the Quran, chapter 49, verse 12, it rebukes those who wish to pry into matters that do not concern them, or harbor suspicions in respect of others, conceding that some suspicions can even be considered crimes. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I think as Kem and the DG had alluded to, this thing, I believe most of us carry it. It knows more about where you go than your spouse. Think about it. Every click you make, every like you tick. In fact, when you don't tick a like, it is recorded. Yet today, technology has facilitated unprecedented violations of our privacy and privacy rights with significant social impact and indeed damage. Sadly, this seems to be just the beginning, and that may explain why NITDA, under the leadership of the current minister, followed through by the current leadership of NITDA, opted to do something about it through the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, NDPR. It should be noted that the NDPR seeks A, to safeguard our rights, B, ensure safe conduct of transactions, C, prevent manipulation of personal data, and D, to ensure that Nigerian businesses remain competitive. Sometimes we think that we are only the fish in the Nigerian bowl. Today, if a UN agency wants to give out a contract for mosquito nets, a company in Japan can bid. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, if our businesses are not globally competitive, then we are not competitive. NDPR also envisages 3 critical groups: the data subjects, which include you and I; the data controllers, such as Central Bank, Identity Management Agency, the Road Safety Corps; and the data processors, who maybe do the actual enrollment, who transfer records. For example, Galaxy Backbone, who transmits on behalf of many of these kind of organizations. It is interesting to note that the NDPR uses a very, very different. It leverages on professionals to drive compliance. And I think this is an issue that many of us miss. That is why we've had one or two goodwill messages. Those people come here and say, we've created this number of jobs. You've done this, I think somebody said about a new generation of consulting opportunities. This is the model that NDPR is using, and I think it's a model that we should consider for other regulations in other sectors. Nigerians need to engage through the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy in national conversations to outline future national digital data policies and data legislation. These policies and legislation must understand where we are coming from, where we seek to go, and learn from earlier attempts, because we know that we've already had one attempt to pass a data protection legislation. We need to learn what did we do right in that process, what do we need to do better so that a more optimal legislation can pass through and get signed. Due to the rapidly ongoing changes in cyberspace and related issues, legislation passed, and this is my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, legislation passed must focus on the appropriate empowerment of a proactive and agile and responsive regulator, be it existing or be it new, and not necessarily on just the specific challenge that we immediately face that the legislation is trying to address. For now, ladies and gentlemen, NITDA by default must ensure the deepening of our understanding of and compliance with extant regulations such as NDPR, its European and California counterparts, the GDPR and the CCPA. Ladies and gentlemen, like most socioeconomic challenges, addressing data privacy in the digital economy requires human resource capacity building. I advocate that Nigeria must overproduce in all technology sectors the number of requisite experts that we need so as to cater for evaporation. And by evaporation, I mean those who are going to leave our shores for whatever reason. It is better for capable Nigerians to leave our shores who can secure dignified and well-paying jobs abroad. This will enhance our diaspora remittances in the short term, and it will also lay the foundation for the return of experienced cybersecurity and other related technology experts in the long term, as we have seen in the case of India. As the challenges of cyberspace, such as data privacy and related trust issues, escalate, they impinge on the economic and digital stability and survival of the nation state and the well-being of its people. As we move forward, may I remind you that we must continually, and I really must emphasize this, we must continually factor the future needs and aspirations of the underserved, the unserved, and the unborn. The unborn, the unserved, when they get served, when they get born, they're going to have to live with the precedents, the norms, the legislation, the policies that you and I establish here today. So it's not just about solving today's problem, we must remember the future. National and corporate leaders, as well as our citizens, must recognize and understand that everything has changed in the last few years. And what may have worked yesterday to mitigate threats can no longer be relied upon today and in the future to secure national and corporate survivability. Strategic government and corporate decision makers need to start asking themselves, what are we missing? What are we not considering? And what must we start implementing immediately? Strategically managing our data resources must be one of our immediate national imperatives. We must move beyond NDPR. It's a great beginning, but it is only that, a beginning. There is much more to be done. A strategic mindset change from cybersecurity focus to cyber survivability prioritization is imperative. Our nation, guided by the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, must articulate Nigeria's cyberspace, cybersecurity, data privacy, and other technology philosophies, ethics, policies, and strategies. Leaders who take ownership and responsibility for their stakeholders and their own destiny will find themselves acquiring a competitive advantage not only today, but bequeathing such advantages throughout the 21st century, long beyond when you and I will be on this earth. Our digital economy must convert problems and challenges into opportunities. The African cybersecurity market was valued at 0.95, approximately $1 billion US. Depending on the estimates you use, as at the end of this year, 2020, it is expected that that market will be between 2.32 billion US and 4.5 billion. And as the lawyers will say, I put it to you, what piece of that action are we going to get? What piece of that action is for Nigeria? Imagine the jobs, the wealth, the taxes, IGR, internally generated revenue that can be accrued. Let us together kickstart the development of a Nigeria cybersecurity economic subsector, employing thousands of knowledge workers below 35 years of age. And of course, it has to be mentored by some of us that are a little older. This sector, including digital privacy, digital rights, will profitably drive cybersecurity and trust solution value chains. Let us view data privacy and related trust activities as profit centers, not cost centers. As we do so, we will also protect the digital Nigerian, especially those digital natives, the students that Kem had introduced a little earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, let us appreciate the efforts of the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, and the Director General of NITDA, Malam Kashifu Inuwa, and their teams, especially their teams, because they do not stand alone. They lead, but they lead a team, who have demonstrated leadership by encouraging stakeholders in considering and implementing the requisite foundational solutions to the national data privacy and digital economy challenges. I believe that together, God willing, we will build digital bridges of honor and dignity between 200 million Nigerians and with us and the rest of the world, thereby making a positive difference to generations yet to come. I must thank the DG, NITDA in particular. We must control our data in order to control our world. I think this is a very, very big takeaway for myself, and I would encourage you to take it away too. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the honor of permitting me to share my thoughts with you at the NITDA meeting on digital privacy in the digital economy in Abuja. I wish you
Sit down, all of you, please. National Data Protection Day, as in Europe. In the US, they call it International Data Privacy Day, while in Europe, it is International Data Protection Day. Our own document or subsidiary legislation in Nigeria is a Nigeria Data Protection Regulation. So it is in alignment with that. We can arguably say that we are celebrating our International Data Protection Day because our subsidiary legislation is for data protection. I'm glad really to stand before you, as it was said by my brother, the DG of NITDA. It was only on the last Saturday, exactly 25th of January 2020, was the first year anniversary for signing our Nigeria Data Protection Law or document into a subsidiary law. By implication, today is only 3 days away from the anniversary. So that is why this week we have been witnessing has taken care of the day we have signed it into law. That is our first year anniversary. And it is very relevant that we are still here today to witness a very important event with regards to the Nigeria Data Protection Law. Furthermore, the reason behind designating this day, 28th January of each and every year, to be the day that we are celebrating National or rather International Data Protection Day, is the fact that there are three keys that we are to take care of. Firstly, it is the day that we are urged to create awareness about data. With this event, we will be able to create awareness. Our friends in the media are here. With the message they are going to convey to other Nigerians, they will be able to appreciate why data is important, why protecting our data is critical, and at the same time, how are we going to deal with the data of others under our custody and at our disposal. Number two is to promote privacy, which is also key. You have to protect your data, and at the same time, you have to urge others to protect their own data. And that is why the DG has given us some tips on how to go about protecting our data. Most importantly, through using latest and original software is one of the ways we can protect. Today, we are being used to deploying pirated software, which can easily be compromised. And secondly, we should ensure that we update our applications, like maybe our app, phones, our Samsung. You will see that there is provision for update. So it's very important to update your applications as soon as possible. And that is why if you can make the setting to be able to be uploaded automatically whenever you get connected to Wi-Fi, that is very important as well. And number three, we should also avoid sharing our personal information on social media. This is very rampant today, to see people sharing their date of birth, their passport, data page, their ticket, the picture of their children. Sometimes they even share their movements. He leaves home towards the airport. He arrives at the airport. From there, he will move to this country or to this state. So by doing that, you are exposing yourself to more and more challenges. And this is the information that fraudsters are looking for, to be able to breach your own data or to compromise your security. So that is why all these things are very important. It is because of this I am glad and most appreciated as the supervisor of NITDA, I am most appreciative of the effort of the agency in organizing this event. It's highly commendable and very apt indeed. In addition, awareness is being created globally about data protection. As we are talking today, all the 47 countries of Europe are celebrating their data protection day today. All the 47 countries. Some in North America are also celebrating, like the US, Canada. Some in Asia are also celebrated. So that is why you will clearly see we are at least achieving that awareness that we have been making effort to create. In Europe, they are all celebrated. Some countries in North America, some in Asia are all celebrated. In Africa, out of 54 countries we have in Africa, at least there is awareness in 25 countries. There is awareness. They may not be able to be celebrating the way we are doing today, but in all these countries, you will clearly see there is awareness about data protection. And they have a form of a document or policy or law that supports data protection in the country. So if you look at it clearly, you will see at least we have achieved not less than 50% of our world awareness when it comes to data protection. And I do hope by next year, 2021, that will be catapulted to around 75%, so that the whole world will know about data protection day so that we will be able to effectively utilize the day and also create awareness. Nigeria Data Protection Regulation is a subsidiary legislation. And if you look at it again according to Section 37 of NITDA Act, and if you look at the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended, you will also clearly see that there is a form of data protection constitutionally, because Section 37 of our 1999 Constitution as amended clearly stated and at the same time guarantees citizens' rights. It guarantees citizens' data as a form of a fundamental human right. So if you look at it constitutionally, protecting citizens' data is a fundamental human right. And this also empowers the subsidiary legislation of the National Information Technology Development Agency, because constitutionally it's a fundamental human right for your privacy to be protected. And it is the mandate of government to ensure that that is done. And I think this is something that will enforce it. And beside NITDA Act, Section 35, there are other documents in Nigeria that you will clearly see data has been mentioned with a certain form of our responsibilities, like Nigerian Communications Act 2003, Freedom of Information. If you look at it, Nigeria Data Crime, Cybercrime Act 2015, NIMSE Act, in all these documents, you will clearly see that data has been mentioned with a certain responsibilities given to each and every parastatal to ensure that the data under their control is protected. And this also supports the subsidiary legislation of the National Information Technology Development Agency that we are celebrating today, and also we are creating that awareness. While at the National Information Technology Development Agency, along with my colleagues there, we signed this on 25th January 2019, along with other 4 regulatory agencies. And after that, a week before I left the agency, I also had the privilege of signing additional 5 documents. Among all of them, I think Nigeria Data Protection Regulation is the most dearest to me. Followed by its colleague as well, that is rule-making process. They were signed the same day. And the third one also with regards to IT project clearance the same day, and guidelines for use of public internet, and the last one, guidelines for use of our social media platforms in federal public institutions. These are the 5 documents that were signed on 25th January 2019. But this is more dear to me, Nigeria Data Protection Regulation, because I know data is key. Most importantly today, if you look at it, we are moving from our traditional economy to a digital economy. Under the leadership of my boss, President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, in an attempt to diversify our economy, came up with this digital economy policy and strategy, which was unveiled on 28 November 2019 at the International Conference Center, Abuja. If you look at the document clearly, without data and without data protection, nothing can be achieved. If you want people to migrate to digital platforms, you have to convince them of their data protection and let them also know that at least government means business, that their information, their data are going to be protected. It is because of this, among the 8 pillars of our national digital economy policy and strategy for a digital Nigeria, number 1 is developmental regulation, in which NDPR falls under that category, and it is number 1. Why? Because we need to convince Nigerians that their information under our custody is going to be protected. When that is done, they will have peace of mind to patronize our digital platforms. And when we fail to do that, then definitely they will be scary and suspicious of utilizing digital platforms. So it is because of this that a subsidiary legislation like Nigeria Data Protection Regulation requires awareness, so that all Nigerians would know that government has committed itself by producing this document that whatever, any form of information that is under the control of government, any data that is under the control of government will not be abused. And any data that is under the control of even private sector will not be abused. And whenever they abuse it, we have a law in place, and they will be urged to face what the law says. So this is a very strategic when it comes to digital economy. Many developed nations today are moving into digital economy. Looking at our population, our strategic position, and our geographic position in Africa, it is very good for us to immediately focus more on digital economy. Because according to even World Economic Forum, by 2022, digital economy has been predicted to reach a minimum of 60% of our world economy. Digital economy in 2017 contributed 6.9% to the US economy. And it created 5.1 million jobs within a year in the United States of America. With the challenges we have today in Nigeria of unemployment, if we focus more on digital economy, we will be able to create many millions of jobs within the country, and that will take care of our younger ones. So it is because of this, since the world is moving into a digital economy, it is mandatory to make sure that people are very comfortable. Citizens are convinced that their data under our control cannot be abused. And that is why, if you look at some strategic steps taken by NITDA, with the example of what happened in Lagos recently and few other places, is a clear indication that the regulatory agencies focuses well on ensuring that our data under the custody of government on one hand or the private sector on the other are actually protected. And I think this is also highly commendable, because the proactive measures being taken have been saying well for government when it comes to data protection. So it is because of this, digital economy cannot be achieved without data protection. When data is protected, then people will be able to utilize the digital platforms. As they say, it is better later than never. We started the celebration this year, while in Europe they started 13 years ago, since 2007, while in the US they started in 2009, 11 years ago. However, we are grateful. In Africa, we could be the pioneers. So at least this is a clear indication that we are still the giants of Africa. The giants of Africa, not only in population, including in proactiveness. When we signed the Nigeria Data Protection Regulation, you will discover majority of African nations were making reference to our document while deliberating on their own. This is the proactiveness that is required when it comes to digital world. If you are, the entire digital economy relies on data. As we know, oil empowers industrial economy, while digital economy is being empowered by data. The way oil empowers industrial economy is the same way data empowers our own digital economy. That is why they say data is the new oil. And oil is being refined in the refinery, while data is being refined through artificial intelligence and data, big data analytics. So this is the refinery of our data. Data is being refined through our artificial intelligence, and both of them are part of our emerging technologies. So it is because of this event is very apt, and I do hope that we will be the ambassadors of this data protection in our country. Firstly, we begin by protecting our data. Secondly, we create awareness. And thirdly, we encourage others not to breach any agreement when it comes to data, and we also urge them to ensure that they comply with this document, Nigeria Data Protection Regulation. I do hope that we are going to enjoy the remaining day today, and at the same time, I encourage each and every one of us to go through the document, Nigeria Data Protection Regulation, because this, what we have said today, will not be sufficient. You need to go and sit down, go through Nigeria Data Protection Regulation and understand. When you start the process of compliance, you will be able to encourage others to comply. This is the key, and that is why we are here. It is because of this. I do hope that in the next few hours we will start sharing the document online so that people that the awareness has reached them will be able to download and read it and also see how federal government means well in protecting data under its custody. I wish us a very successful deliberation. May Almighty bless our country. Thank you for listening.
Public and private corporations should please be ready. Thank you.